Now it's time to take a look at some of the comics out now and coming soon in the Geeky Brummie Pull List. And to start you off, we have a previous comic of the week. It's Star Trek Year 5, issue 24 from IDW Publishing. This is written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, with art by Sylvia Califano, inks by Elisabetta DiMarco, and coloured by Charlie Kirchhoff. And in this issue, their journey has taken them to the edge of the known universe and beyond. They've faced down incredible odds, conquered incredible enemies, and now here in the shadow of home, their mission will come to an end and nothing will ever be the same. The crew of the Enterprise will put it all on the line for the grand finale of Star Trek Year 5. And as I've said before, this is the last issue of the story. We have the final epilogue issue to follow this. So I felt it was time to give this book the title of Comic of the Week. Across the last 24 issues, the team of creatives under the guidance of Lansing and Kelly have created one of the best Star Trek stories I've ever read. I've loved how the series captures all that made the original series so great and how elegantly it has woven into the changes coming as the crew and the ship move towards the era of the motion picture and the subsequent movies. If you've not picked this up, you really should grab the trades and immerse yourself in the 23rd century and revel in the incredible story that's been crafted here. It's highly recommended. Then we have Batman 89, issue 2 from DC Comics. This is written by Sam Hamm with art by Joe Quinones and colored by Leonardo Ito. In this issue, a showdown in Burnside leaves both Batman and the Gotham Borough reeling as the community rallies together behind Harvey Dent. Can Bruce find a way forward for both Batman and the city? I loved the first issue, and Quinones is the perfect artist for this series. It's been a while since I've regularly bought a Batman book, and I feel really out of the loop with the main line. But as a big fan of Burton's movies, this has proven to be a great way to get reacquainted with the Dark Knight. Next up, we have Fight Girls issue 3 from AWA and Upshot Studios. This is written and illustrated by Frank Cho and colored by Sabrine Rich. In this issue, 10 hard of nails women face off in an ancient contest of champions where the winner truly takes all, the title of Queen of the Galaxy. To win the challenge, each contestant must survive the hazards of the planet's harsh landscape, the ferocious predators on and below its surface, and their fellow contestants. This edition of the contest has a twist. One of the contestants is an infiltrator who has her eye on something bigger than the prize. Who is she and what does she really want? This book looks incredible and has been great fun so far. I can feel it building to an interesting denouement, and as long as the journey continues to be filled with adventure and giant monsters, I'm there for it. Next, we have The Trial of Magneto issue 2 from Marvel Comics. This is written by Leigh Williams with art by Lucas Wernick, colored by Edgar Delgado, with a cover by Valerio Schilti. And in this issue, it's habeas corpses. Heroes of the Marvel Universe come to Krakoa for a memorial. Now they've got a fight. Magneto pushes Krakoa and the Council to the brink. Also, there's something wrong with the body. I didn't pick the first issue of this series up, and I wasn't sure it would do anything interesting. How wrong I was. My local comic shop slipped this into my regular order, and I was hooked. The art is absolutely lovely, and there is much more going on here than I expected. Things are going to change for the mutants as a result of the contents of this series, and Leigh Williams has proven before just how good a writer she can be. Now we have another previous comic of the week and one I'm reading digitally. It's 2000 AD, Prog 2250 from Rebellion. This issue was written by Gordon Rennie, Ian Edgington, Roger Langridge, Dan Abnett, Chris Weston, Maura McHugh, Rob Williams, and Arthur Wyatt, and features art from Jake Lynch, Antonio Fuso, Disraeli, Mark Harrison, Lee Carter, Chris Weston, and Brett Parson, and was coloured by Jim Boswell, with letters by Annie Parkhouse, Jim Campbell, and Simon Boland. In this issue, it features the start of 5 new ongoing series and 2 scintillating one-offs in a pulse-pounding package of thrill power. And it's crowned off with a brand new cover from master artist Mike McMahon, a bold and evocative image of the future hardline lawman, Judge Dredd, one of 2000 AD's most iconic artists. McMahon remains one of the masters of Dredd, with an ever-evolving style that has produced some of the series' greatest moments. If you're a lapsed reader of the Mighty Prog, then now's the perfect time to jump back in. This is another of the issues that kick off a whole new set of stories, so you can get in on the ground floor for each tale. Judge Dredd, The Out, and Scarlet Traces are some of my favourite strips, but with the double links at Pandora Perfect, also starting new runs and a nice one off Anderson Side Division and a very fantastic Future Shock from Chris Weston, there's bound to be something here you'll enjoy. The next comic on the pull list is Once and Future issue 20 from Boom Studios, written by Kieran Gillen with art by Dan Mora and colors by Tamara Bonvillian. In this issue, it's Arthur versus Arthur. Knowing that the Grail Castle may be their best chance of survival, Bridget, Duncan, and Rose hunker down and prepare for the worst. Elsewhere, the resurrected King Arthur challenges an arriving usurper to his rightful throne, another King Arthur, and raises an army of the undead to do it. But the new Arthur has the greatest knight of all on his side, Lancelot. I can remember when this looked like it was going to be a 6-issue miniseries, and now here we are at the 20th issue. There's plenty to explore in British folklore, and we've only just scratched the surface. I'm really enjoying this series, and I do recommend you check it out. The writing and art are top-notch, and there is always plenty to enjoy. Up next, it's X-Men issue 3 from Marvel Comics, written by Jerry Duggan with art by Pepe Larraz. In this issue, evolution is the enemy. The X-Men are no strangers to being targeted for their genes, but when the High Evolutionary returns with his brand of unnatural selection, the survival of the whole planet is at stake. Okay, I can see the High Evolutionary here on this cover, and so that can't be good news. This new X-Men series is plenty of fun and seems to be trying something new in a post-Krakoa world. Larraz continues to deliver some of the best renditions of the team I've seen in a while, and Duggan is a writer whose previous work I've enjoyed and is doing a great job here. Let's see where they take us next. Up next, we have X-Men, the Onslaught Revelation one-shot from Marvel Comics, written by Simon Spurrier with art by Bob Quinn. In this issue, you have strayed from the way of X. The onslaught is upon you. The X-Men's greatest foe, mutant kind's primal evil, slithers into the minds of its most senior leaders. The kids whisper of the Crucible, a party to end all parties, a party to end everything. The seals are broken, the trumpets have sounded. Only a small band of eccentric mutants can hope to break the fall. Can Nightcrawler light the spark that will drive out the shadows, or will Krakoa slip into the abyss? This is a spin-off one-shot of the recent Way of X book, which had a rather short run. There will be lots to wrap up in this issue, and I hope Kurt and David manage to survive. Spurrier has been a great addition to the X-writer pool, and I'm hoping we'll see him on another book soon. The next comic on the pull list and my current comic of the week is Adventureman issue 5 from Image Comics. This is written by Matt Fraction with art by Rachel and Terry Dodson. And in this issue, it's the greatest unknown. As New York teeters on the brink of a strange Armageddon, Claire tries the Adventureman mantle on for size just in time to face the monstrous evil that vanquished her predecessor. Only he didn't have a family like hers. Adventureman returns this week after a short break. I loved the first 4 issues. Fraction and the Dodsons have managed to recreate the joy of reading Golden Age pulp adventures. This is an absolutely remarkable book, and if you love the likes of Indiana Jones, Doc Savage, or John Carter of Mars, then you should pick this up. Next up, we have the first in a trio of Marvel books, and this one is Amazing Fantasy issue 3, written and illustrated by Keir Andrews. And in this issue, experience these heroes like never before. On this amazing island of fantasy, World War II Cap, Teenage Spidey, and Spy School Black Widow have found their tribes. They must now meet on the battlefield of death. The stage is set, the actors are in place. All that's left is war. Or is there one last chance to stop it all? This book is wild and so enjoyable. Keir Andrews has done a great job taking some of Marvel's premier heroes and taking them off in new and unique ways. I really dig the throwback to the comics of the 60s and 70s, and these covers are worth picking up for the book by themselves. If you love stuff like heavy metal, then you should definitely check this one out. Then we have S.W.O.R.D issue 8, written by Al Ewing with art by Gilles Villanova. In this issue, long live the Queen. By the time you're reading this, you know who sits in the central seat of Akaro. You know who speaks for Sol. Storm rules. But when you have to prove to your people who you are every single day without fail, what becomes of who you were? Finally, we have an issue of S.W.O.R.D that isn't tied into some wider story arc. I hope this means Al will be able to stretch his quite considerable storytelling skills. The whole premise of S.W.O.R.D has been intriguing, and I don't think we've seen yet what this team can do. With Inferno starting this week, the future of this title may be a little different to what we expect. And speaking of Inferno, here it is, issue number 1, written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Valerio Schilti. And in this issue, the culmination of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men begins here. There will be an island, not the first, but the last. Promises were made and broken. The rulers of Krakoa have been playing a dangerous game with a dangerous woman, and they are about to see how badly that can burn them. Mastermind of the X-Men, Jonathan Hickman, brings his plans to a head, joined by an incredible lineup of artists, beginning with Valerio Schilti, as one woman follows through on her promise to burn the nation of Krakoa to the ground. Whatever you think, you can't deny that Jonathan Hickman really shook up the world of the mutants. Now, as he moves on from his post as head of X, it looks like he's planning to pull the rug from under us once again and transform the future for the X-Men. With Trial of Magneto being more than I expected, I'm utterly intrigued as to how this story will affect our merry band of mutants. And that's it for the pull list this week. But before I go, I'd just quickly like to introduce Matthew Rosenberg, who has a few words about a new book he's got coming soon.
Hi there, my name is Matthew Rosenberg, and I write comic books such as Uncanny X-Men, The Punisher, New Mutants, Hawkeye Freefall, Grifter, the upcoming DC vs. Vampires, Task Force Z. I also wrote a book called We Can Never Go Home, and I wrote this book, Four Kids Walk Into a Bank. And now I have a new book coming called What's the Furthest Place From Here? And it's coming out November 10th from Image Comics. And I'm here to tell you to listen to Geeky Brummie podcast because they asked me to do it. And I do things like that when people ask me to. So do it. Check out What's the Furthest Place From Here November 10th. Enjoy your podcast.
Thanks, Matthew. And if you have been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I was a big fan of Four Kids Walking Into a Bank. So I'm very much looking forward to that comic later on in the year. If you want to find out more about other great comics coming out, you can check out our On the Radar feature, which features on the website and Twitter every Wednesday. And you can buy your comic books from the wonderful Worlds Apart Birmingham on Small Book Queensway. And that's it for me for this week. And remember, as always, comics are for everyone.